What's up and welcome. This is Me, You, and Switch 2. I am me, Tom Tate, and you are you. So let's talk about Switch 2. This is the latest and greatest Nintendo Switch 2 news brought to you every Tuesday and Friday in snackable 10-minute episodes. Today happens to be Friday. It is January 16th. It's a little later than usual. It's about 8:02 a.m. on the East Coast, episode 66. The weekend is upon us. Hopefully that frees you up to do something you love to do or just play some games, and maybe that is what you love to do. There's a lot of news happening, so I'm just going to jump right into it. I had some banter in the last episode. I can't do that today. I can't do that and hit 10 minutes. So let's get into it. First up, Animal Crossing New Horizons 3.0 update and Switch 2 edition, both released this week. The Nintendo Switch 2 upgrade, if you already have a copy of the game, will cost you $4.99. That'll get you the enhanced graphics. That'll get you game chats, mouse controls. It will allow you to host up to 12 people on your island at once now. And there is a megaphone in the game that lets you call your villagers over. So you can call your villager friends by name. And presumably, if they recognize your voice, they will come over. The 3.0 update is available regardless of whether or not you purchase the $4.99 upgrade. There's a lot of cool stuff in the 3.0 update. I did an episode on this right after the Direct back in October, and here are some section headers that I'm pulling right from Polygon. I'm not going to do all this content again. I'll link to that episode in the notes, but here are just some section headers from the Polygon article, which I'll also link to. So help out Captain's family at their new pier resort. This allows you to kind of go into this new pier-side hotel and decorate and do some odd jobs. There's some new Nook Miles objectives, quality of life updates for crafting and building, clear your island with Resetti's reset service, decorate even more on Luna's Slumber Islands, crossover amiibo functionality. I think this includes like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. If you use the Legend of Zelda amiibo, you can get Legend of Zelda perks and items. There are new items to decorate with. And there's more. So anything in the Polygon article that you're interested in, you can check out. I'll link to it. What is not mentioned in the Polygon article, but I read it in multiple places, there are substantial load time improvements in the Nintendo Switch 2 edition. So if loading your island was getting a little sluggish, the Switch 2 edition might be the cure for that. Nintendo Life's Alex Olney reviewed the Switch 2 edition and gave it a 6 out of 10. The pros, visuals are sharper, brighter, and overall prettier. Mouse controls are somewhat useful. The cons, stuck at 30 frames per second. Loading times, while improved, still feel similar to the original played on Switch 2. Mouse mode potential not fully realized, and a bit cheeky to charge for such a short list of Switch 2 specific features. Again, it's $4.99. He wrote, Animal Crossing New Horizons Nintendo Switch 2 edition is perfectly fine. It makes things a bit prettier, has a few more options to take advantage of the console's new features, but all in all, it's not an especially exciting upgrade. If it were free, I don't think anyone could reasonably complain, but even at the relatively low price, it's only just scraping by to be worthwhile. It's far from an essential purchase, but if you've got credit on your accounts and you're a fan of the game, you could do worse. And Gavin Lane, who's also an editor at Nintendo Life, chimed in with a second opinion. He wrote, having spent several hours with the substantial 3.0 updates on Switch 2 before the console's bespoke edition went live, my appetite was suitably whetted. I closed the game, downloaded the upgrade pack, fired it up immediately, and honestly, in handheld mode, I couldn't tell the difference. On a 4K TV, it does look marginally better, but it looked pretty great beforehand. Really, I was hoping for more. So I think it's just going to come down to how important is $4.99 for you. If you're going to be playing this update and you're going to be playing on Switch 2, if $4.99 is worth it for some marginally better graphics and load times, then go for it. The other big event was yesterday's Resident Evil Requiem showcase. This was a live stream. I checked it out. I think it was like 12 or 13 minutes. We already learned a lot about this game over the past couple of months. It was featured at the Game Awards. We learned that Leon will be returning from this to this game. He's kind of a mainstay in the Resident Evil franchise. Producer Koshi Nakanishi talked about the different playstyles in Requiem. He talked about how protagonist Grace Ashcroft, who's the first character we learned about in early trailers, her sections play more like Resident Evil 2 or 7, a bit more reserved. She doesn't have as much firepower. And then Leon's gameplay will be more like Resident Evil 4 Remake, so it'll control in a much more familiar action-style way. You can take weapons from enemies, which is pretty cool. Leon has a chainsaw, which is pretty cool. There's a lot of brutal action to be expected for a Leon action-style Resident Evil game. Grace's gameplay is less action-oriented, but it's still, core survival horror. So this game is a nice mix between the two. I think this game's going to do really well. I think it's going to bring a lot of old fans back to the franchise. They showed some different gameplay options, first and third person perspective. You can switch between the two, whatever your taste is. Casual difficulty, which, in my old age, when I'm just trying to get through a game fast to enjoy the story, maybe that's a good thing. Classic option, where you need to find and conserve ink ribbons to save. Anyone who played an older PS1 Resident Evil game, you know how challenging it was when you needed to save your game and you didn't have an ink ribbon. You might leave your game on forever, or you have to backtrack to an old save and play things differently. Very, very fun. They end it with some other product collaborations, deluxe edition stuff. I'll link to the full video. There's a full recap on Game Informer's website. I'll link to that too. But this will be here before you know it, February 27th on Switch 2 and other consoles. There's lots of other game news. I will run through it relatively fast. Madden NFL 26 is available as a game trial. This game trial is available between now and the 21st of January, and it apparently gives players access to the full game. So if you want to try out Madden 26 on Switch 2, you can access the full game. There's now a demo available for the THQ Nordic co-op horror game Reanimal. You can still play this solo if you don't have anyone to play with. As a reminder, there's a Dragon Quest VII Reimagined demo available now too, and your save carries over. I'm very interested in this one. I think I'm going to play the demo. Polygon's Ollie Welsh said Dragon Quest VII Reimagined dropped the rare demo that does everything right. The player clicks download on the demo out of mild curiosity. 3 hours later, they are completely locked in. At this point, not buying the game is inconceivable to them. It's a perfect conversion. So he basically reviewed the demo. It's a 3 to 4 hour demo. I'll link to his article on Polygon. We got an announcement that Star Trek Voyager Across the Unknown was announced. It will launch on Switch 2 on February 18th. It looks like it'll be $40 from the Nintendo website. The Nintendo Shop site. Star Trek Voyager Across the Unknown is a story-driven survival strategy game in which the fate of the iconic starship is in your hands. Take the helm, manage the ship and resources, and make difficult decisions. Will you be able to bring home the ship and its crew? High on Life 2, we talked about this last episode. It was rumored, but now it is confirmed. It will arrive on Switch 2 digitally and physically on April 20th, 2026. 420, bro. It'll be here. Now, I did read that the physical edition will be a game keycard release. I know that folks out there don't love that. There is an ESRB listing that popped up for Disney Afternoon Collection for Switch and Switch 2. I had this game on PS4 and maybe other consoles too. It never came to Switch, which always surprised me, but it is coming to Switch and Switch 2, apparently, according to this ESRB listing. This compilation game, it has Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers, Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers 2, DuckTales, DuckTales 2, Darkwing Duck, and Tailspin, 6 of the greatest NES games that I've ever played. I was just playing Darkwing Duck earlier this week. I picked up a new kind of retro Android-based handheld, and Darkwing Duck is always my kind of go-to. Darkwing Duck and Link to the Past are my go-to, like, test out this handheld games. It's amazing. This game is so good. It's hard. You have to practice to get good at it. I grew up on these games. Chip 'n Dale 1 is my OG couch co-op game, one of the best two-player games for the NES. So I'm going to be delighted if this comes to Switch and Switch 2. It's produced by Digital Eclipse, who was acquired by Atari, I think. So hopefully Digital Eclipse is still working on bringing this over. I'll also link to a Fortnite South Park collaboration crossover trailer that showed up on the Nintendo YouTube site, the official Nintendo site, if you're interested in Fortnite and South Park. That's it for today. Please make this weekend what you need it to be. As always, thank you so much for your time and your attention. A kind rating or review on your podcast listening app of choice helps me continue to grow the show. It really does help. Sharing with a friend, family member, Discord server, subreddit, wherever you hang out with other gamers, that goes even further. You can go to switch2pod.com for all the things. That's switch with the number 2pod.com. We have all the subscribe links and stuff there. Much love. Now go play some games.